I used to play guitar when I was younger, and the truth is, I wasn't very good. I guess I was spending too much of my time playing video games. Honestly, can you imagine? But, I've been practicing again lately because I want to get better. But, it's sort of reminded me of when I was younger and, the games industry went through this weird craze of, Guitar Hero and all kinds of crazy rhythm games.
Yeah, remember back then? I mean, that was around 2006. To me, at least, it didn't really start to get big until Guitar Hero 2 released. People got really into those games, practicing on the hardest modes with the big crazy guitar-shaped controls, spawning a bunch of Guitar Hero spin-offs and sequels, and then there was Band Hero and Rock Band and so on and so forth, and it just spun out of control, until people were basically sick of Guitar Hero, and we haven't really seen a new one since around 2010.
These games came out when I was in high school, and they were so popular that my school actually had Guitar Hero tournaments, but I'll admit that down the road there was a game that captured my heart even more so than Guitar Hero, and even then I didn't play it until way later after it came out, probably around 2009-2010, and that game is Gitaroo Man.
Yes, it is called Gitaroo Man. I wouldn't blame you if you saw this video and assumed it somehow misspelled Guitar Man or something. It's a game I've wanted to talk about ever since I started this whole review business. Gitaroo Man is one of my favourite games and it tugs at my heartstrings, fills me with emotion and inspires me so much.
I like it a lot, can you tell? But I know you're eagerly waiting the revelation of what is Gitaroo Man.
Well, Gitaroo Man is not what I'd call a conventional rhythm game. It's a game made by Koei and Innis. Innis is a company which specialises in rhythm games for the most part. Some notable examples of their work would be Elite Beat Agents, Initial D Perfect Shift Online, and of course Gitaroo Man. Now, initially Gitaroo Man may look like some kind of Parappa the Rapper style clone or something, and to a certain degree parts of it could be interpreted that way, but it's much more than that. You may not see it initially, but this game carries a very inspirational message. And due to this, Gitaroo Man is a game I think of very fondly. The main protagonist of the game is a young boy named Yuusha.
I mean, his name in the Japanese version is Yuichi, but even in the Japanese version it's still spelled with the English letters U and 1. So, yeah, it's a pretty weird name, but it is what it is.
Yuusha is a very passive character who lacks self-confidence and outwardly considers himself to be pathetic, as seen when confronted by another boy called Kazuya.
Wait, maybe not. I'm pathetic.
Come on, let's go, Pico.
Huh? Hey, wait! Hey, that wasn't very nice. You didn't have to be so mean to him.
Yuusha is in love with a girl called Pico, and because Pico hangs out with Kazuya, who skateboards, Yuusha wants to really badly learn how to skateboard to try and impress her. The story begins with Yuusha coming home upset after Kazuya has been picking on him again, so Puma says to him, "Wow, Yuusha, you're like totally useless, aren't you?"
Say it right now, the dub. It's strange. I mean, the characters are very forward with how they say things. There's no real dramatic tension. Things are very literal. The pacing's very awkward and strange, but I'll show my bias just now. I quite like the dub. I have a great deal of nostalgia for it, but in saying that, I think the voice actors in the Japanese dub are actually a great deal better.
So Puma tells Yuusha to pick up a tennis racket. You're going to learn how to play guitar because chicks love guitar. Or something to that effect. This brings you onto a nice little tutorial where Puma teaches you how to play the game, and I'm sure looking at this you may be a bit confused as to how the gameplay works. Well, let's try to put it as simply as possible. The levels are split into 3 segments: charge, battle and final modes. Throughout all of them you have a line on screen called the trace line. All you have to do really is use the left analog stick and point it roughly in the direction of the trace line. And as notes appear, you press a button in time with it and hold it to sustain a note. The more notes you play, the more Yuusha plays his instrument. Occasionally things will switch to where you have to dodge enemy attacks, which just means pressing the right button at the right time. And that's it really. Now you may think that's easy, but it can be surprisingly tricky as the game throws a bunch of small notes at you, but my god does hitting those notes and being rewarded with some epic sounds feel great. And that's one of the great things about Gitaroo Man, is that he isn't using a guitar, he's using a Gitaroo.
Totally different. I promise.
The sound his instrument makes changes to fit whatever song is playing. It does always take the form of some kind of guitar, which is my favourite, and is made even better with how varied and interesting the selection of styles there is. There's rock, metal, jazz, reggae, and honestly, I'm not much of a music buff, so I don't know the proper terms for most of these song genres, so I'll leave it there, lest I upset someone by using the wrong terminology. To put it simply though, Gitaroo Man's levels are just a string of boss fights, and really there isn't a lot of stages. I've seen people complain that the story is all over the place and that Yuwon and Puma jump around randomly from point to point a lot, but if you take the time to watch the cutscenes, you'll see that every event in the game is connected actually quite well. Yuwon comes home, practices with a tennis racket, gets attacked by the boss Pampius. The fight ends with Yuwon going really fast down his home's twisted hallways, then cuts to a movie with Yuwon careening towards Kazuya and Pico in the city square. Then the next stage, said city square, is being attacked by aliens called Flying O's. This, by the way, is one of my favourite songs in the game. Just listen to it. Oh, so good. This level was actually my first experience with Gitaroo Man as well. I had a demo disc for my PS2 which included this whole song, and I used to play it over and over because I loved it so much. And eventually I had to track down a copy of my own. Anyway, the fight ends with Yuwon being pushed onto one of the aliens, they fall into a forest. The next fight with Mojo King B takes place in said forest, etc, etc.
Look out! Huh? I'm gonna get you, Gitaroo Man!
It's got some silly moments like Puma pulling a spaceship out of seemingly nowhere, but for the most part the story and events are all connected really well, but I have one giant complaint.
The big shark guy, Ben K. Oh my god, I hate him so much.
There are two stages with Ben K, one where he's just a shark guy chasing you through space and it's just a dodging minigame for the whole song that honestly isn't that great. It's okay, but the inputs are so crazy and chaotic that it's just stressful. And I see it as a major roadblock from enjoying the rest of the game, because I've seen people say that they couldn't get past this stage, which is a tremendous shame because some of the game's best music and story lies beyond this terrible portion. The following fight with Ben K, where your ship turns into a mech and Shark Boy himself stands on two legs and challenges you to a reggae battle, is okay. Not my favourite song, but it's decently likeable. But yeah, that gives you the gist of this game's content and structure. And it's not the longest game ever. Like, I sat to play this game and I beat the whole thing in about an hour and 10 minutes.
But, do you know what happened after I beat it? I played it again.
Why? Because that's Gitaroo Man. It's just such an amazing experience. It has incredible music that spreads the genres, and playing it gives a joy that can only be experienced firsthand.
But if I had to say one thing to sum this whole game up that says it all, that would be the legendary theme.
The legendary theme. It's a song you hear more than once throughout the game, and it's so good and simply so timeless that the composers of the game, Tomohiro Harada and the band Coil, have said that the legendary theme was one of the highlights of their musical career, and as a celebration many years later actually released official lyrics to go with the song. But why is the legendary theme to me so important and emotive? In the context of the story, the legendary theme holds a lot of power. Yuwon, the pathetic, self-deprecating, hopeless romantic, thrust into a dangerous adventure to save the world he never wanted to be a part of. But it was his destiny. He comes from the Gitaroo bloodline and has to defeat the evil Prince Zoe's minions, each of whom possess their own Gitaroo, which you have to take. Yuwon and Puma fly through space to the planet Gitaroo, where they crash land, and Yuwon is introduced to the female inhabitant Kira. And then it plays. They share a tender sequence where Yuwon gets close to a girl who reminds him of Pico, the girl he loves, and he plays his best to her and gets complimented. Fast forward to the confrontation with Prince Zoe, who it turns out Kira works for. Yuwon is then forced to fight her, but finds himself unable to due to his complex feelings for Kira and subsequently Pico. She pushes him and forces him into fighting her until he stands his ground, no longer afraid, aware of what he has to do, his role and his responsibility, accepting the destiny that was thrust onto him. Then he plays it again in a sequence that honestly makes me kind of emotional. It's a game about growing. Through trials and hardships, no matter what, you'll hit a point where you don't want to sink any lower. You'll want to succeed and push yourself toward whatever goal you've set.
Maybe you want to study, maybe you want to travel, maybe you want to focus on your health or create, or maybe you want to make video game reviews on the internet. Whatever it is, I want you to know that you can. And if you want it hard enough and you put in the effort, you sure as hell will. Thank you for watching.